Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hi, guys. So I was like, didn't I already see this video? And then I made sure and I checked. And this is the one I saw. So this is a different one. The Don'ts of Visiting England. This one has 1 million views, June 20th. Oh, this is Shocks of Visiting England. Okay. All right, let's do it. I have been to England twice. Once when I was very young. 2006, I believe. So I was 13, 12. 12, 13. And then I went again when I was 21, maybe. Jesus, my chair keeps going down. But yeah, I went to Stonehenge second time. First time, I really don't remember anything. Second time, flew into Heathrow. We rented a car that the steering wheel is on the other side. And you drive on the other side. That was, we had my dad do it. And then we crossed the channel into France. And then, so then we switched back to the other side of the road, but still the wheel, it was an English car rental. So still the wheel was on the right. Fun. But yeah, there's a lot I have not seen, obviously. Being of Irish and English heritage, I've never been to Ireland. And I know I can trace back to Mohill, Ireland on one side. One of my four grandparents, a second of my four grandparents is from Lancashire, like that way back. I'm talking a long time ago. And so let's go. My name's Connor. Give me a break. I hope you're all doing well. Rhode Island, greatest state in the Union. New England, USA. New England, the better England. Okay, enough stupid jokes. Let's go. Yeah, original link to the video, top of the description.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Walter's World, and today we're in windy England here in London. And today what we have for you are the 10 things that might shock a tourist when they do come here to England. And the first thing that shocks tourists is the English, they really mind their P's and Q's. I mean, they are very polite. You will hear sorry, please, thank you so many times. You'll understand when people say, I hope my little boy grows up to be an English gentleman, because they do have manners here. No, not everybody has manners, but you will be surprised how much the politeness really comes in, whether you're talking to the police, you're talking to the people that work in tourism, or just normal everyday people. The pleases, the sorries, to bump into people. Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, excuse me, sir. It does kind of shock people with how polite they are. And with those P's and Q's, so P's the politeness, and Q is the cues here, okay? You'll be shocked with how people really stand in line very well.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, all right, lines here, but so many European cities have a bunch of these giant, beautiful courtyards surrounded by old, beautiful architecture buildings where it's just walking. I'd have to say Paris is probably the most jaw-dropping in terms of... We're not talking about Paris, talking about England. Anyway, it's beautiful. I love all this stuff.
Here, and nobody queue jumps or line jumps or butts in line, because that is totally not a cool thing to do here in England. So that's the first thing that shocks people, how they mind their P's and their Q's, okay? Now the second thing that kind of shocks tourists when they come here is you might actually like the food. I know, it's like I'm being sacrilegious here, saying you might like English food, but hear me out.
Yeah?
They actually have some pretty good stuff
English
when you
breakfast.
are here. And it sounds silly, but you'll be surprised how many, like, the
Fish and
foods
chips
you do have here, you might really like. When you sit down and have that
Bangers and
English
mash?
breakfast with eggs and beans and toast and sausages, bangers and stuff like that, it is such a good thing. Or when you go to the pubs and you go have a pub grub there, have the Sunday roast, or go have a good beef burger,
or isn't haggis Scottish, I guess? Isn't haggis made out of sheep liver, or don't take my word on that. Something sheep.
Steak and kidney pie. There is actually a lot
sheep
of
stomach.
good foods that are here. Fish and chips is an experience you should have. The chocolates, Cadbury, come on, you can't compare American chocolate to British chocolate, English chocolate. It's two different worlds, and that kind of shocks people. They go, you know what? I actually had some food I liked here. I know, it sounds crazy. That's why it's the second thing that'll shock you. The third thing that'll shock you about England is how much the weather does actually kind of suck sometimes. No, it's not raining every day. Obviously, I'm here in beautiful sun.
Well, I feel like that wouldn't be really a shock because I feel like England has that reputation.
Sunny London. I mean, who says that? Beautiful sunny London. Yes, they do have sun here, and you do get to go outside when it's not pouring rain, but a lot of times it does rain here. I've been here where it's raining like horizontally and getting soaking wet and all kinds of stuff. So when you do come, just be prepared, because you know what? You might get a great day like this, or you might just get rain for the entire time you're here. So make sure you bring your rain jacket when you come to be prepared for the weather. And if you don't want to bring something, there's people selling umbrellas when it is a rainstorm.
Hey, when I go back to England or Europe in general, I'm not going to be there for the weather, okay? So I really don't care if it's raining anywhere or not. I'm going to want to see historical sites. I suppose, actually, if I was going to see a cool castle or whatnot, it would be nice if it wasn't raining so I could see the outside more. But you guys told me, many of you, Brits, English, that you can visit the castles and you can actually go up to them. Can you touch them? I went to Stonehenge. Don't get me wrong. I don't know why I expected it, because it makes total sense now that I think about it. But you couldn't go actually right up to Stonehenge. I enjoyed it a lot. If you're just going there like, oh, Stonehenge, then yeah, it's going to be underwhelming. But if you know what you're going to be looking at and just imagining how these people did it, it was amazing. But I sort of expected you could be able to go up and touch it. But then I quickly thought, like, but that'd be stupid. This is a precious ancient site. You don't want anyone hands on it messing anything up.
So you'll be okay, but just know, usually the weather kind of sucks sometimes. Not all the time, though. Now, the fourth thing that shocks tourists when they come here is how much the pub is kind of a focal point of a lot of people's lives here. I mean, if you go to small towns, the pub is like the center where things go on, where you watch the football match and you have your Sunday roast and you go get a pint and talk about work and life and the family.
He says the pub, but there seem to be so many pubs. It's not like the pub, you know? And also a thing is you don't tip, I don't think. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting a lot of the things that you guys commented on the last England Don'ts video, but just pointing out some of the things I remember.
Family, and how much the pub really is a quintessential part of an English experience. So make sure you do go there and have maybe some of those foods you like, or have an ale that the guy literally is cranking out for you. And it really is a part of everyday life here in England. And that's what's cool. It's like, you know, you think about the US, oh, I'm going to the bar, or I'm going to a bar. But here I'm going to the pub, and it means something more. And that shocks tourists when they think, oh, it's just a bar. No, pub is so much more than that. So you can have your Sunday roast with the family, or a pint with your pals and things like that. And the pub crawls and all these things that can go with it. It is really cool, and it shocks people how important pubs really are to English culture. Now, the fifth thing that'll shock you about England, which is kind of weird that I'm doing it here in London, is England is not just London. I know so many people that come to London and they say, oh, I've seen England, or they say, I've seen Europe. Look, England and Europe, in that matter, is way more than London. London is an international city with all kinds of amazing things to do and see, but the country itself has tons of other things out there. The natural beauty and the things to see and the history is fantastic. Tons of other things out there. The natural beauty and the things to see and the history is fantastic. So you'll be shocked that there's more to England than London. So get out there. And that's why it leads into the sixth thing that's going to shock you. When you come to England and you get outside of out onto the countryside, this country is actually beautiful. Go through Kent and the gardens of Kent, or go to the Peak District with a lake.
Stay back. You're not allowed to touch. Stay back. I couldn't touch.
District. Go up to Yorkshire and see York. I mean, this country is gorgeous, and you want to go out there and go explore it. And that's what's really cool.
That's beautiful.
It's not just London. And when you get outside of London, the countryside and the towns, the villages really are beautiful things to see. So exploring that countryside leads us into the seventh thing that's going to shock you when you do come to England, and that is when you rent a car and your first roundabout. I'm not gonna lie to you, the first time I took a roundabout, I'm like, oh my God, first off, they drive on the left side of the road, okay? So make sure when you cross the street, you look right, otherwise you're gonna get smashed, okay?
True,
but
yeah.
The thing is, when you get that first roundabout, there's like 2 lanes and 2 lanes, you're like, okay, I've gotta go right, so I gotta go around the round.
I love that. Look at, like, the buildings are like leaning in on you, and it's such a small, cramped little road with all these nice signs and shops.
Roundabout, and then come off this way, and you're like, oh my God. And once you do that first roundabout, and you're like, okay, where do I turn in? Where do I turn about? All these things, it will shock you into a heart attack, okay? And then after you do that, you'll realize it will shock you into a European Vacation, National Lampoon's European Vacation, and you see Chevy Chase going around the Griswolds, going around the circle. Look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament. Look, kids, Big Parliament. For like 6 hours, you start to understand, because seriously, renting a car and driving on the other side of the road is shocking in and of itself. But when you get that first roundabout, you're like, oh God, I'm gonna die. Okay.
I love roundabouts. They seem so much better and more organized and safer than intersections.
Now, the 8th thing that's going to shock you is when you do travel around, you actually can see Downton Abbey type houses, the stately homes, the stately manor houses, and the country homes and stuff like that. You can go visit those, and it's cool because a lot of people, oh, it's a set piece or it's CGI or something like that. No, these are real homes that you can go to. You know, you can go to the Cotswolds and see the houses there. You can go around and see these stately homes, take tours of them, go to the gardens, have lunch there, have a picnic there, see all these things. And it's cool because you get shocking, like, wow, you can see that old Downton Abbey kind of things here, that old England. It's not just in the textbooks anymore. It is out there in the country, and that's one of the best things. The National Trust, they have all kinds of homes you can go stay at. I mean, you can stay at them. Literally, I guess one thing,
Some historic properties also can be rented as accommodation.
They have all kinds of homes you can go stay at. I mean, you can stay at them. Literally, I guess one thing I'd say with that Downton Abbey kind of thing is you can have some of those true Englishisms here, staying at an old house, an old, stately manor, or what you do with the National Trust. They have all these homes. You can stay.
I feel like I would want to be with an English family, in that house. Does that sound weird? It would just give it that extra. If it was just me in an English, that'd be cool too. I would just want the full feel.
In a home that's 1,000 years old and enjoy that there. And that's what's so cool is you can get the history of England in these homes and get that kind of Downton Abbey feel. I know that this show's been off the air for a while now, but it does have one of those things that shocks tourists. Is that, wow, I really get to enjoy those kind of things. Now, I will say, you get to see the Downton Abbey homes and stuff like that. The Downton Abbey acting and stuff like that, yes, people still have good manners here, but it's not like Downton Abbey anymore. I'll tell you what, just go to the pub on Friday night or Saturday during the soccer football match, you'll understand what...
Soccer, he said soccer. Berate him like you berate me. You berate me every time I say soccer.
I mean. Now, the 9th thing that's going to shock you when you come here to England is the cops don't have guns. In the U.S.
What, brother? How do you have freedom?
They've always got a gun on the side no matter what. Here, most of the cops, the bobbies, they don't carry guns, okay? And the thing is, the cops here are super friendly as well. So it's kind of like they're there for security, but it's almost like they're also there for tourist help. I mean, it's pretty funny because I know there's been many times when I'm like, okay, which way do I need to go to Notting Hill? Or I'm in York. Hey, how do I get to the church and stuff like that? Or where's the best place to go have tea and crumpets? And the police officers, male, female, they're like, oh, go down there 3 blocks to the left, you're going to see this thing. And they're super great, but it does shock people when they see the cops.
Now that I say crumpet, is a crumpet a biscuit? You guys call cookies biscuits crumpet.
But they don't have any guns. Now, there are some cops with guns, yeah.
Crumpet. Okay.
Yes, but it is kind of a shocking thing if you're coming from the U.S. Guns. Now, there are some cops with guns, yes, but it is kind of a shocking thing if you're coming from the U.S. or South America and stuff like that to be like, hey, it's a cop, and he's got a walkie-talkie. Huh, interesting. But it is cool, and they are super friendly, which is super nice. And the 10th thing that shocks tourists when they're here is when they realize that Britain and England are not the same thing. England is a part of Britain, okay? It's called the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So, obviously, Northern Ireland's separate. Great Britain, that's England, and Scotland and Wales. And that's the thing is, if you meet a Scotsman or a Welshman and you say, oh, you're English, they're going to be insulted because no, England is a different country. But they'll be okay if you say they're British because there are a lot of differences between going to England and going to Wales and going to Scotland.
I'm trying to think of an American analogy. I can't really. Oh, you're American. Oh, you're from Texas. I can't think of a good analogy.
Whether it's the accent or even a different language they may speak there, the food and things like that. I mean, the pub culture pretty much stays in all those places, but there really is a difference. And just remember, you'll be shocked that England is not Britain, okay? It's two different ideas. Anyway, those are just 10 things that might shock you if you're coming to England on tourism or travel or vacation or fun. What are some of the things that shocked you about coming to England? Please put it in the comment section below so we can have more shocks. And if you want to see more videos like this, 10 things that'll shock you about London.
Again, I've been, but I haven't been around enough to really find a bunch of things that shock me. You don't, just a kind of a weird culture shocks from the US, I guess, like the tipping I always remember. But I have to, like you said, like people will say like, oh, I visited, like I've been there, but I wouldn't say I've really embraced enough about England to say like I've done a good well-rounded trip in England. I haven't done that. I hope to soon, someday.
5 things you love and hate about visiting England, all kinds of stuff like that. Check us out on our website at Walter's World.
Awesome channel, awesome video, great, love it. I'm gonna get into a history video. I've been loving the channel History Hit. You guys seem to have been as well, showing some of the castles in England and the history around them. I saw one about King George III. Tyrant, your worst king. King George III, your worst king. All right, see you next time.